Good evening and welcome to our show, Brookfield Public Advocate. I'm your host, Bruce Senig. As a young boy growing up in Westchester, I recall several museums in New York City with visiting these museums in New York City, but it was the American Museum of Natural History that I just loved. With its dinosaurs, its many varied exhibits, the planetarium, this lad of 10 was most enamored with the mineral exhibit, glowing rocks, black lights, and all. As Brookfield Public Advocate begins its third year on Charter Channel 21, I believe whether you're 10 or 90, you'll find tonight's show quite interesting. I'd also like to point out that, as with several of our earlier shows, tonight's topic came to us from a longtime viewer. Our guest this evening is John Pawlowski, who is the founder and the director of the Connecticut Museum of Mining and Mineral Science. John, thanks for coming and welcome to our show.
Thank you, Bruce. I'm happy to be here.
John, would you please tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Well, let's see. It goes back over 60 years. I started collecting minerals when I was 6 years old. And now that I'm 70, I'm still collecting quite actively. And I just have a passion for the earth, not only the rocks and minerals, but nature in general. But it's the rocks and minerals that really are the closest to my heart. And, you know, there's just so much that I have learned over the years about the earth, and I never seem to get bored with studying it.
Well, that's great. So you developed your interest as a child. Was there any special education that you needed to take for your field?
Well, in the beginning, no. I did have a mentor when I was about 4, actually. I think the interest, the seed was planted. I lived next to a field mineralogist, Ronald Januzzi, who used to run the Dinosaur Gift and Mineral Shop in Brewster, which no longer exists. And as a child, I used to go over and just bug him all the time, and I think the seed was planted then. And then I started taking lessons from him when I was 6, joined the Danbury Mineralogical Society when I was 10, because that's the minimum age. And now I'm the oldest continuing member of that organization. And
you've been a member the whole time?
The whole time.
Wow. Well, please tell the folks what the name of the museum is and where it's located.
Well, it's the Connecticut Museum of Mining and Mineral Science. We're part of the Connecticut Antique Machinery Association. We're Museum Village. And it's located 1 mile north of the traffic light on Route 7 in Kent, Connecticut, right next to the Eric Sloan Museum.
Okay. And tell us why you started the museum and also how long ago or how long have you had it?
Well, we're beginning our 13th year at the Mining Museum. Well, in my research of minerals, minerals come from the earth, and a good source of those minerals are mines and quarries. And I've collected in those all over the United States and developed a tremendous interest in mining when I used to explore the tunnels at Mine Hill and Roxbury when they were available in the 1950s. And through the years, I've developed an interest in mining history and started collecting mining artifacts, collecting the history of these mines, and of course the minerals that go along with them. So later on, I began to research more in depth the mines of Connecticut and the history of mining in Connecticut, and found out very few people know about this history. As it turns out, Connecticut was the cradle of America's mining industry. It started with John Winthrop Jr. in the 1600s. And we had the first copper mine, the first tungsten mine, the first bismuth mine, the first cobalt mine, the first nickel mine, the first granite quarry, the first sandstone quarry, the first mining of marble, and possibly the first gold mine by Europeans. So in order to get this information out to people, I decided that my retirement project would be to start a museum where I could share this beautiful history that we have in the state, and also to share those beautiful minerals I've collected for 60+ years.
Wow, I think the audience would be quite surprised to learn about all of the minerals you mentioned earlier were, and the mining was, Connecticut was first on the map in
Yes.
the U.S. That's just amazing. Would you please tell our audience also a little bit of a brief history of the museum, and if we could bring up some of the photos that we can put up on the screen?
Well, let's see. This is our 13th year. I looked around for various places in Connecticut where I could site the museum, and Mine Hill Roxbury was my first choice. However, the terrain is not suited for a museum-type structure. And then I did locate the Connecticut Antique Machinery Association, and it's also sited on the grounds of the early Kent iron furnace, which took the ore from South Kent and smelted it into iron. So we now have a historic site adjacent to us, and that's part of the Eric Sloan Museum, and my museum complements that. We have in the museum a tremendous number of exhibits. We started out with a small building, only 20 by 40 feet, and in that time period, people became so interested in the museum, I never expected it to be as successful as it was, and people were asking to see more. So we fundraised and put on an addition 5 years ago. That wing is now complete, and we're raising money now for another wing, which will be a classroom and a research area. So we're moving along.
Are you in touch with, I'm not sure, with some of the colleges maybe in the state that maybe in terms of geology, do you communicate, are you in touch with them with some of this?
Yes, not only the colleges and universities, but also with the State Geological and Natural History Survey, which is through DEEP. As a matter of fact, this weekend, Hofstra University is coming up to the museum to bring their students to show them the different minerals that can be found in the state.
No kidding. John, would you tell our viewers what exactly is a mineral and how does it differ from a rock?
Okay. The easiest way to remember it, rocks are made of minerals. And minerals are naturally occurring, they're inorganic, non-living, and they have a definite chemical and crystal structure. And I have a few here that I brought along. This one is the mineral galena. It's an ore of lead, and you'll notice it has a basic cubic structure. It has a definite chemical composition. It's lead sulfide, and you can find galena in Brookfield and other towns in the state. The silver mine on Silver Mine Road actually was galena that contained a small amount of silver.
Huh.
This mineral is amethyst. You can notice the beautiful hexagonal crystal structure. Yeah. This one's not from Connecticut. This one is from Bolivia. But you can see the color varies from the galena. The shape is different, it's hexagonal, and its chemical makeup is silicon and oxygen. Azurite is a beautiful copper carbonate mineral. And this one comes from Morocco. And what's interesting is Morocco used to be attached to Connecticut over 200 million years ago.
Oh, okay. I know I'm learning a lot of stuff, but I was thinking, wow, I'm really learning.
We have about 5,000 different minerals on planet Earth that we know of so far, and more are being discovered all the time. Now, rocks, again, contain different minerals. The marble of Route 7 through Brookfield and Danbury and New Milford is basically marble, and that made up a lot of crystals of the mineral calcite and dolomite. The granite to the west of Brookfield, that is older, and that is made up of mica, feldspar, and quartz, 3 different minerals, but large quantities of all.
Tell us a little bit about why mining and minerals are so important.
Okay. We use minerals every day. The plastic that this table is made of, that contains petroleum. Even though it's not a true mineral as such, it has to be mined out of the earth. We also burn it as a fuel. The metal strip along the edge comes from minerals. The fountain pen, my glasses, this glass is made up actually of the mineral quartz. This is the most common mineral in the Earth's crust, and yet it's one of the most important industrially. Glass, all glass, is made from quartz. Electronics today, every piece of electronic equipment that contains a microprocessor has a quartz crystal in it. This is a quartz crystal, but if you look inside your electronics, you won't see this. It's in a tiny little container, and it's a flat slice that when you put electricity to it, it vibrates at a steady rate depending upon the size will determine the frequency it will vibrate at. And that controls the electronics and the timing within computers and cell phones, iPads, televisions, remote control vehicles, walkie-talkies, you name it. So everything, we either grow it or we mine it on our planet in order to use it.
Talk, it looks like you have a lamp.
Oh, yes.
Tell us a little bit about that as well.
One of our major exhibits is mining technology. And we have a large display of different kinds of mining lamps. This is a carbide lamp. Has been replaced by electric lamps. The bottom container, you put pellets of calcium carbide in. The top container, you put water in. Water dripping on the calcium carbide produces acetylene gas like they use in cutting torches for cutting metal up. And then the gas comes out of the little nozzle. You put your hand over it, let the gas build up, pull down on the striker, it bursts into flames, and you have a flame shooting out of the lamp. The problem is, these have been outlawed in mines in the United States and other countries because of an open flame, especially with explosive gases like methane.
Yeah. But they used to use that in
They
mines,
used to,
then?
and they still use them in some third world nations. This is a whale oil lamp, and this was primarily used in coal mines. They would put whale oil in, there would be a wick, and a very dull but smoky flame would come out of it, and this is what they would use. And of course, in coal mines, there's usually the presence of methane gas, which is quite deadly. This is called a safety lamp, and was developed by Sir Humphrey Davy in the early 1800s to detect dangerous gases. And the gases would come through the holes on the side. There's a metal gauze inside. There's a flame in the bottom. And as the gases come in, it will either start to smother the flame if it's a carbon dioxide gas that's in the mine, so the flame will start to dim, warning the miners that they'd better get out to get some fresh air. Or if the flames start to burn brighter, the presence of methane is there, and that too
Better get out.
better get out before it explodes. It won't explode with this type of lamp because the gauze absorbs the heat to keep it from getting into the mine atmosphere. So all the heat stays within the lamp itself.
So on a neutral kind of level then, the flame would stay the same the whole
Yes.
time?
Mm-hmm. And then if it got brighter, methane. If it got
Interesting.
dimmer, carbon dioxide. Either way, you want to get out of the mine.
Gee. You mentioned some of the minerals in the area where there sounds then as if there were working mines in the Brookfield, New Milford, or surrounding towns?
There's quite a few of them. Some were very, very small and just prospects where they were looking for certain things. In Reading, Bethel, Danbury, Brookfield, New Milford, and then on up through to Massachusetts, the marble was mined, put into a kiln, baked to drive off the carbon dioxide gas, and you ended up with calcium oxide or lime, which was used for whitewash, mortar mix, and fertilizer. Also in the area were pegmatite mines, and those contained large crystals of quartz, feldspar, and mica, plus many other rarer minerals, and those were mined as well, mainly in Bethel, Newtown, and in New Milford. The lead mine on Lead Mine Road in Brookfield was a silver mine, one of the earliest silver mines. I've traced that back to the early 1800s.
And that's on Silvermine?
On Silvermine, yes.
Whereabouts?
I can pinpoint it exactly. It used to be where Hoffman's chicken farm was, and I used to have to wade through the manure to collect on the old mine dump. Right now it's where Dade Bearing is located, right near where Silvermine Road and New Route 7 cross. Huh. Then there's the big iron mine in Roxbury. Plus there are several granite mines, quarries in Roxbury as well. So we have a very rich history right in this small area.
I think most people would be just amazed, and you sound like you have a wealth of information. Now, John, the Advocate has done shows in the past on water with radionuclides. We did something in January, January being Radon Awareness Month, and currently we're working on some a show regarding some soil contamination around the Four Corners area. Does the museum have any tie-in with any of those issues?
No, not as such. We do provide some background information for people doing geological research, not too much in terms of radon and uranium element. It's present in the rocks surrounding us. The granite, the younger granite of Brookfield, contains uranium. The granites to the west of us, the Precambrian highlands as it's called, that contains thorium, which is also radioactive. And all radioactive minerals do release radon gas, basically. So it's present. It's a natural thing. It's just that when it builds up that we have a health problem.
Is this area any more prone than others, or?
From what I understand, no. The Redding Prong, which extends up into Connecticut, contains a fair number of radioactive minerals and elements. And it's just a common natural problem that we have discovered.
Yeah. Now, you showed us some of the lamps and some of the other minerals. Can you maybe just quickly go through some of the remaining minerals?
Well, this ugly-looking rock, I shouldn't call it a rock because it's basically a mineral, but you can't see the mineral as such. It looks like an ugly cauliflower. You break it in half, and you have some beautiful crystals.
Wow.
This is the mineral quartz, again, like the large crystal. This hollow, rounded rock is called a geode. This comes from
say it again?
a geode.
Geode?
Geo meaning sphere or earth, Earth-like. And this particular one formed in a sedimentary rock in Illinois. You can literally find them by the thousands there. And we're not exactly sure how they formed. We feel that they formed in a fossil that dissolved away, leaving a void in the rock, and later on groundwater percolating through containing dissolved minerals crystallized out within this hollow space. And as they weather out of the rock, you have these rounded rocks, and you break them open, and hopefully they'll be hollow and contain crystals. This is ugly on the outside, and on the inside, it's beautifully banded. This was actually a bubble of gas and lava. This was found in Mexico. This is actually one of the first minerals I ever collected. I actually purchased this one. Didn't go down to Mexico to collect it. And what happened is solution got in and formed, as it crystallized out, formed these bands of different colors. Different elements contaminating the fluid would give it the different colors. We have geodes in Connecticut. Not too far from here in Southbury and Woodbury, we have lava flows. Lavas are very gassy, and many times when the lava is flowing, the surface cools quickly, and the bubbles of gas rising up get trapped. They don't have a chance to escape and pop. Okay. And later on, when it solidifies, these hollow spaces have, again, groundwater either coming up or seeping down in, containing different minerals will crystallize out. And this is the mineral prehnite. This is one of my favorite minerals.
Prehnite?
Prehnite, yes. Named after Pren, who was a mineralogist in 2 centuries ago. This beautiful specimen of amethyst comes from Uruguay, and this too formed in a bubble of gas. Now, some of these bubbles are small, and the crystals, the geodes, are nice. I saw one at the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show a couple of years ago that was 15 feet tall, and 4 of us could just put our arms around it. It was so huge, and just lined with these beautiful crystals. If I ever found something like that, I think I'd probably have a heart attack right on the spot. This is native copper. This comes from Michigan, which is the largest deposit, the Keweenaw Peninsula, the largest deposit of native copper in the world. And it's a natural element. We could stamp this into pennies and, or melt it down directly and turn it into plumbing pipes or electrical wire. A very important element to us.
Where was that from?
Michigan.
Michigan.
We did have the first copper mine. I recently purchased the largest copper nugget ever found in Connecticut for the museum. It weighs 110 pounds.
Really? Well, I don't mean to be crass, but may I ask if something that large, how much that cost the museum?
I'd rather not say.
Rather not. Okay. Okay.
Much less than what I was first offered it to me for.
Interesting. Okay.
And this one, the last one, this is our state mineral. This is the mineral garnet. We have many species of garnet in the state. It actually is found in 137 of the 160-something towns we have in the state. And this was mined. There were 5 garnet mines in Roxbury, Southbury area. And these were mined as an abrasive, not the gemstone. The quality isn't there for a gem.
Garnet, though, is a deep red normally, right?
Oh,
No?
well, commonly, yes. In Reading, West Reading, there's the Groschler garnet, and those are cinnamon in colored. And Tiffany's actually prospected that to use as a gemstone. There was another garnet mine under the reservoir in Reading as well. Some are green, some are colorless, some are pink.
Huh.
So there's a whole variety of colors in garnet.
Does the museum have any special events that are coming up soon?
Yes, as a matter of fact, on June 8th, we have our annual Gem and Mineral Show, and it's free to the public. We have dealers there that like to swap minerals with other collectors, and they also sell minerals as well. It's a good, fun time. It's outdoor, one-day show, rain or shine.
Rain or shine, okay.
Yes.
And does the museum have any plans for the future, you know, other than that event? Expanding or?
We do have a couple of antique machinery events during the year, and we do open our doors to them as well.
I belong to the Housatonic Valley Antique Auto Club, and I can't remember, but I'd say it was probably a good 5 years ago. We actually, it was a weekend, actually, I don't remember if it was a Saturday or Sunday, but we visited the museum, and I think you've probably added a lot since that time, but I was struck by you know, all the different you know, minerals that you had. There was also, for some reason, the brick part. It was just kind of, you know, stuck out to me. You shake your head on that.
That's an interesting topic. I never thought I would collect a brick in my life. Yeah, you look at a brick and it's a brick. Yeah, many people have them in their homes, in their fireplaces, and chimneys. I was researching the mining of clay in Connecticut and discovered that most of the clay mined within the state went into the manufacture of bricks. And, well, I decided to try to locate some of the history. And the more I got into it, I found that it was a very big industry. We had over 300 different brick plants throughout our history. And we only,
Connecticut?
In Connecticut.
Jeez,
many of them were just backyard,
state.
yeah, many backyard type of industries, you know, home industries. And somebody told me about a group called the International Brick Collectors Association, and that they had a great research library. So in order to use their library, I had to join. Okay, I started receiving their journals, and people collect bricks. Maybe I could collect some Connecticut-made bricks. So I started doing that. Then I read about a brick swap, which was in Pennsylvania, almost into Ohio. And I loaded up my truck with my extra bricks, went off, and found out that there was like a feeding frenzy of sharks. Fun-loving group of people. You don't have to trade a brick for a brick. You just take bricks from other people's piles. And the swap was over before it started, time-wise. And it's just a great hobby, and there's a tremendous amount of history in bricks.
Well, I do remember seeing it, that I was struck by all the different kinds of bricks. You know, brick is not a brick, I guess.
You have to be a few bricks shy of a full load to be a brick collector. They're heavy.
Okay, now we've talked about a few things I think that would surprise the audience, but are there some others that maybe you have that you feel that they would be surprised to learn about the topics we've discussed?
Well, if they come to the museum, they will see a small display of drill cores hanging like tubes in a rack. And it's what we call our stonophone, or a stone xylophone. And you take a little hammer, you can hit it, and you can play real rock music with it. It's amazing that these resonate so well.
I think that was one of the shots we had up on the, actually there it was, okay. We had up earlier on the screen. We're running towards the end of the show. Is there one last thing you'd like to leave with the folks?
In order to understand the environment, you need to understand the physical makeup of the earth. Not only the rocks and minerals, which provide us with so much of which our lives are depend upon, especially our highly technological lives, but it's also important to understand the natural processes that take place. Earthquakes, volcanoes, hurricanes, tornadoes, even radon gas. These are all natural things. In order to make good, sound environmental decisions, everybody needs to understand the facts about these processes. And that's something we also try to get across to our public.
Good, good. Very, very informative and educational. Well, we're going to wrap up our show now. Again, I'd like to thank tonight's special guest, John Pawlowski, who's the founder and director of the Connecticut Museum of Mining and Mineral Science, for appearing on our show. I want to remind our viewers that our air dates on Charter Channel 21 are on Mondays at 4:30 and Thursdays at 7. We also post segments up on YouTube, where you can find some of our shows. We'd love to hear from you, whether it be ideas for new shows or guests, comments on prior shows, or just you'd like to sound off. So our guests you'd like to see. So you can reach us at brookfieldpublicadvocate@yahoo.com. Again, thanks for watching and good night. Okay, we just sit and wait till it kind of goes dark on the screen.